Hey, Miles here, milesbecker.com. In this video, you are going to learn my top 10 self-help books that have helped me personally go from having a poverty consciousness to an abundance consciousness. I don't care if you call it self-help or personal development. Ultimately, these are the books that have helped me go from just one generation before. My father grew up on a farm in North Dakota. He had no running water. He had no electricity. He had no indoor plumbing. Again, in North Dakota. To now one generation away, I've generated millions of dollars online. And it's not exactly the tactics that have been the change, right? It was changing the scripts that were playing up here in my head, changing the mindset that ultimately has done most of the heavy lifting, because our external world is actually a reflection of what's going on with this internal conversation. So how do you fix that internal conversation? It's these books right here. Here's how this video is going to work. I'm going to list off the books. Now, some of them are better to be purchased as a book. Other ones I found where you can get them for free. Other ones yet I recommend in audiobook format. For me personally, taking advantage of plugging in headphones and listening to audio while driving, while commuting, while doing dishes, while making coffee in the morning, while mowing the lawn, literally constantly feeding my brain with these types of books is ultimately how I've built the mindset that is kind of creating the reality that I'm enjoying today. And that's what I want to share with you. On all of the old books, there's a lot of reproductions of them. You always want to get the original version, the unabridged version, the one that no one else has fiddled with, because publishing companies have remade and remastered books, and they often take out parts that are key to understanding. So number one, we're going to jump right into it, is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This is one that there is dozens of variations of. In the description, you're going to find links to all of these books. Some are affiliate links. I fully admit that, and I get a kickback if you purchase through them, but that's not why I'm doing this. But the one I've linked to on Napoleon Hill is the absolute original untouched variation. I do believe it's best to go through that first original version. Now, a couple of these I have some or options, okay? Because you maybe have read Think and Grow Rich. So Think and Grow Rich is one, or The Success System That Never Fails. That's W. Clement Stone. If you know about Napoleon Hill's path through life, he actually worked with W. Clement Stone later in life. I like The Success System That Never Fails because it focuses more on the system than it does on thinking, right? People think that Think and Grow Rich, all you have to do is just think, and that is a fallacy. It is a way of thinking, but he talks a lot about applying that activity in the world. Ultimately, you need to build systems in your life. That's why I like W. Clement Stone's The Success System That Never Fails. And the other or for number one, yeah, we got like three on number one here, is Grow Rich with Peace of Mind. This was Napoleon Hill's last work, and it kind of takes all of his ideas he learned on his process and really simmers it down in the most cohesive, coherent way. All of them, I think, are a great idea, but choose one of those three to get started, and that will get you on the path. This is timeless information from the 1930s, right? This is old information that is still extremely true and relevant today. Then on to number two, You Were Born Rich by Bob Proctor. Now, this is a seminar and a book that Bob Proctor put out in, I believe, the 1980s. He might have wrote the book in the 70s. Bob Proctor has studied Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, and a lot of what he shares in this seminar or series is actually straight from Think and Grow Rich. It's his variation, it's his take on it, and it's absolutely brilliant. Now, in the description below, you're going to find that I've actually linked you for free to a playlist that has the entire You Were Born Rich seminar right there. But oftentimes it's difficult to sit there and watch a seminar. I mean, it's a 2-day freaking seminar, right? It's a lot of time. It's like 8 hours. I think it's 6 DVDs. So it is available free, but I purchased this on Audible, and I have it on audiobook, and I listen to it because I can get through it more quickly. And I've actually listened to this probably 3 times, and I'm absolutely going to listen to it a 4th time. Repetition is so key with everything in life. Most of these books, at least 75% of these books, I've listened to at least 2 times or more, and the other ones I will absolutely listen to them again. Repetition of these ideas into your conscious mind is how you implant your subconscious mind to really start to build a different reality for you, because because if you realize it or not, your subconscious mind is running the show. That's what all these books will teach you and help you understand what's going on and how to fix it. So the You Were Born Rich seminar, again, YouTube, you can get it for free. Audiobook is on Audible. He talks about the workbook, the companion workbook. If you're going through that, just Google it. Just Google Bob Proctor You Were Born Rich seminar workbook, and you'll get the workbook. So when he's talking about it in the audiobook, you can go glance at it. The images, it's not that important. I went and found it and went through it and was like, oh, that didn't really do that much. But they talk about it. So I just felt like it was lacking, but you can go find that there. Highly recommend that from Bob Proctor. I would not go into Bob Proctor's funnels. He is notorious for selling at this point $15,000 learn how to be a life coach programs. I would not buy into anything of his beyond this one seminar. Personally, that's my take on it. Number 3, Science of Getting Rich. Now, this is by Wallace Wattles, and I believe it was written in the late 1800s. This is probably one of the kind of origin points of the modern law of attraction. So if you've heard of the DVD, The Secret, or Esther Hicks or Abraham Hicks, the law of attraction, it's become quite a buzzword since the 80s and now into the 20 teens and whatnot. They're all really regurgitating what Wallace Wattles taught in his original book from the 1800s. And since it's so old, that means it's in the public domain, which means it's free. There's no copyright on it. So for this one, the link down below will take you to the Gutenberg website where you can get the Kindle version. If you've got a Nook, you can get the Nook version. If you want a PDF, you can get the PDF version. You could also go on YouTube and find audiobooks, people reading this out, because there's no copyright infringement. You can just go get this one for free. Highly, highly, highly recommend this one. A lot of what I've taught in my law of attraction videos, which I'll have a link pop up above, I highly recommend watching those, is kind of my take on what he taught. And it's always so good to go back to the original source of the information. Highly recommend The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. That was number 3. Number 4 is Psycho-Cybernetics. Now, this was written by Maxwell Maltz. I believe this was in the 1970s. It is all about the power of the subconscious mind. This is a theme that you will hear nonstop in all of these first books, right? The first 4 that I've mentioned, which maybe actually was like 6, all of them are talking a lot about the power of the subconscious mind. And that's been my big aha realization on my path through kind of personal development, through self-discovery, through self-help materials, is that my father growing up in, like on a farm with no electricity, running, like that's poverty conditions, right? So at a young age, we all get programmed by the age of 6. So whatever was going on in your household when you were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is ultimately the subconscious programming that you've had. And then we subconsciously program our children with that. So that was the kind of programming that I received at a subconscious level. So when I was in my 20s, I was constantly bouncing checks, losing jobs, wasting money. Money just disappeared. I had no idea, and I thought the world was against me, but it was actually the programs that were running. All subconscious. Maxwell Maltz's book, Psycho-Cybernetics, is probably the absolute best summary of everything that has to do with your subconscious mind, how it works, how it's a goal achieving, how you are actually a goal achieving being, and how to program yourself in your subconscious mind to go after different goals, to create a different reality for yourself. Highly recommend that book. I think it's absolutely fantastic. The Audible versions, I don't love the person who read them. I've been through them. It's very dry. He's very monotone. So that might be one to pick up on an actual book. Number 5 is Prosperity Consciousness by Frederick Lehrman. This is going really, really, really focused on money, on your relationship with money, and it teaches a system of how to manage money, because the theory is when you get to the point where you're able to manage your money, even if you ain't got none, right? You manage the budget and you manage what little you have coherently, then the magic of the universe is that when we prove we can manage some, we will get more. It's amazing in how it works. When I was younger and I was bouncing checks all the time and I was overdrafting accounts and I was just borrowing money to live and just living in that kind of poverty cycle, this audiobook taught me a system that I implemented, and it's absolutely changed my life. I originally implemented this system over 10 years ago. Hadn't thought about the book for literally about 10 years. Last summer, I kind of had a flash. I just remembered it. I was like, oh man, what was that book? Prosperity, that was good. I went and found it. It's on Audible, downloaded it, listened to it, and I was like, oh my goodness. All of my habits, my banking system that I still use to this day is all based on that. My affirmations around money are all straight out of that piece of content. That has worked wonders for me. Now, if you look on Audible directly through the link in the description for Prosperity Consciousness, you're going to see that it's like $45. Audible has a subscription option. You can buy 6 credits. You could buy one a month. I'm on a credit a month program, and essentially you get a credit for $15 and you can exchange a credit for this one. So any of the ones on Audible that say they're, $40, $30, $50, if you're on their credit system, you'll get it for $15. To me, that's a required one. My sister and I are currently trying to help her build a new relationship with money. This is the book, right? Prosperity Consciousness by Frederick Lehrman. It's an audio only. Somebody created an actual book with that name, but you got to go through the link and get the right one, or else you won't get the right system to go with. Number 6 is another or, right? There's 2 options. They communicate the same big idea from very, very different standpoints. It's Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, or it's The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. Now, this is for creators, big time. When somebody wants to start a blog, a YouTube channel, a podcast, this is an absolute must read. But you are a creator, whether you're actively creating in the digital world or not, you are a creator. You have art that you're bringing out to the world. Now, this art might be how you make patients feel in the operating room because you're an anesthesiologist, right? It doesn't have to be painting on canvases. And they both look at this, and they both kind of look at the process of creation, the process of identifying your art in the world, the process of cultivating it, harnessing it, and sharing it with the world. Both are beautiful books. I recommend both, to be perfectly honest. I've listened to both of them at least 3 or 4 times each, no joke. Elizabeth Gilbert narrates her own on Audible. The narration, I like Audible for both of those. They're fantastic books, especially if you're a creator. Listen to the previews, choose the one whose voice you like better. I love that Elizabeth Gilbert narrates her own because it's just fantastic. So that was number 6. We're on to number 7. Number 7 is The 10X Rule by Grant Cardone. Grant Cardone is a sales trainer. He's a wealth coach, not really a wealth coach. So he teaches real estate investing and he teaches sales, and he is like massive on social media. The dude publishes like crazy, and even on search engines and YouTube and whatnot. This is the only thing of his I've bought personally, and it's the only thing of his I ever will buy. I know that he has a huge sales staff. I know that he makes hundreds of millions of dollars selling extremely high ticket sales training. I don't want nothing to do with any of that. All I care about is this one big idea of the 10X rule. Melanie and I have both gone through this. He's a little intense. He comes at you with an intensity, but damn, sometimes we just need somebody to like tell us how it is. Straight shooter, no BS, like get your shit together, get on the path, go, like hustle it up, do the work, like step up. And if you're at a point where you just need that kind of like, I don't want to say drill sergeant level approach, because it's not that bad, but boy, it's probably the closest to that off of this whole list. And every once in a while, we need somebody to just tell us to get off our and do it, right? Like we just need that at some point in personal development. It is not all rose petals and lavender oil and butterflies in self-help, right? You got to get off your ass and do things and change what you're doing and work harder and work smarter at the same time. So great book. I do like that he narrated that one. I'm audiobook on that one all the way, because it's just like I need an annual dose of Grant Cardone to just really keep me fired up, because as you reach new levels, as you get comfortable at certain points in life, the hunger and desire to go to that next level seems to subside, right? I've got a friend that says luxury breeds complacency. It's so true. This book will get you out of that space if that's where you are. Number 8 is an either or as well. My man Tony Robbins had to hit the list, right? So I don't recommend getting these on Audible. On Audible, they have like really short abridged versions. You want to get the full book. You might be able to find the original audio CDs on eBay or somewhere else, but on Audible, they're just these like 50-minute hyper edited versions, but the like real ones like 6 hours or so. Like it's a full book, right? These are both full books. So Unlimited Power and Awaken the Giant Within are the 2 books. Now, these are his old books. I don't go to Tony Robbins events. I won't watch his Netflix thing because that's just a sales video on Netflix trying to sell his event. I have a friend who has spent over $70,000 with Tony Robbins projects in 1 year to go all the way to the end and hang out in Fiji. The dude is a master salesman. So I say that up front as in, You don't have to go to his multi-thousand. He got salespeople. They will track you down. They will call you nonstop. They will convince you you need his events. I've never been to one of the events, and I'm growing and living a beautiful life. The information is in the books. What books? Again, Awaken the Giant Within and Unlimited Power are the two books. Get the book themselves. Don't listen to this one on Audible. And ultimately, I really think that you might be able to find the old audio CDs. So if you got a CD player in your car, this is a great one to go at. Tony brings the energy when he delivers via audio as well, but even the written book is great. The next one, number 9, The Millionaire Next Door by Stanley and Danko, 2 authors. It was an academic study. This one is, man, this one possibly shifted my mindset the most about what is wealth. What do wealthy people do? What do millionaires do? Especially, man, like I read this pre-social media days. Okay, Facebook was like a college thing when I read this first. Today on Instagram, with the world, YouTube, you got a lot of people flashing a lot of symbols. And a lot of those symbols, like Lamborghinis, and a lot of those symbols are actually liabilities. They're not assets. Wealthy people know the difference between an asset and a liability. Wealthy people focus on growing and building and purchasing assets, not liabilities. And they spend very little money on the liabilities. What's a liability? Your car is a liability. Your vehicle, right? Your house, the house you live in is absolutely a liability. The clothes that you're wearing, 100% liability. You got watches, you got rings, you got a brand new fancy iPhone. All those things are liabilities, right? So what this book did was an academic study of 1,000 millionaires, and they went and looked at, like, where do they shop? What do they buy? What kind of vehicle do they drive? Blew me away, because I always thought growing up, right, grew up in a kind of a poor family. My dad had to go to the pawn shop to pawn things to pay rent several times growing up. So that's where I came from. I always thought the people that lived in that neighborhood with a couple of that brand cars, right, the Mercedes and the Beamer, and they had the big house in the other neighborhood, I always thought they were wealthy. Turns out most of the time, at least 80, 90% of the time, those people are broke. Those people are earning $300,000 a year, and they're spending $300,000 a year. And they might end up the year net with $5,000 in the bank, whereas you earning $50,000, $60,000 a year could probably create a greater savings rate. You probably could start stashing away more money at the end of the year if you focus on the ideas that were translated from this book. You see, our society, and this stems out of the TV culture, the Hollywood culture, now the Instagram and social media culture, people flashing things, trying to look wealthier than they are. It's peacocking. It goes on all the time. And those who flaunt it ain't got it. That's been my philosophy since I learned what goes on in this book. And man, once it was like eye-opening. And this is a scientific academic study, right? This is peer-reviewed stuff. This is like real. This ain't like a fictional tale. This is actually a study. They actually did a survey of 1,000 millionaire families. It'll blow you away. And what happens is it starts to just change the mindset. Be like, oh, damn. So that's what wealthy looks like. Wealthy is incognito. People flashing stuff. They're broke. They're living cash flow negative lives. They're on a treadmill. They're on a $30,000 a month treadmill. And at the end of the year, they ain't got nothing left sitting in savings. They ain't got no assets that are generating cash flow. They ain't got no assets that are appreciating. Which way do I want to go? I want the assets. So I know how to live my life in accordance with what worked for others. It's that idea of modeling, right? If you want to become an actual millionaire, like a real actual millionaire, it's probably a wise thing to do to go model what actual real millionaires do, not to follow Flash Kid, Lambo boy flexing on YouTube, showing off his Lambo, because that is absolutely a symbol of a liability. But I digress. Go through The Millionaire Next Door. Brilliant book. Totally opened my eyes. Really blew me away. And then number 10 is the 80-20 Principle by Koch. I went through the audiobook on this one. Now, I've known about the 80-20 principle forever. It's an easy principle to understand. I've done videos on the 80-20 principle. When I started the book, I was like, am I really going to go through this? And first of all, it's on the list because I think most people don't understand what the 80-20 principle is and how it works in their lives. But even for me, knowing what it was and having kind of practiced it and focused on it for several years, it gave me new ideas and new understanding to the depth of how this works in different areas of my life. And it got me to look at my world different. And again, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So Wayne Dyer quote, can't even believe I didn't get a Wayne Dyer book on this list. I mean, I could put 60 books on here. But the 80-20 principle by Koch, there is an 80-20 principle that works, and he broke it down in a way that gave me so many new ideas of how to apply it. It's revolutionized my business, and this is within the last 6 months. I just listened to that book maybe 3 months ago, and I'm already looking at my business different, and I'm building new things based on kind of the ideas and the aha moments I got from his book. So that's it. That's my top 10 list. There's probably like 14, maybe 15 on there. I just have to remind you that the most successful people in the world are avid readers. The CEOs who often earn thousands of % more than the factory floor workers, they are known to read an average of 5 books per month. The average CEO in America reads 60 books per year, and they make a whole lot more than those who don't. Most people, the last book they read was the last book they were assigned by a teacher whenever it was they were in a classroom last. If you want to change your life, you need to change your mindset. You need to go on a path of self-education. And the cool part is with your cell phone, right? I got this thing always near me. Earbuds are right here, always. Every morning, first thing I do, I pop it on, I listen for 15 to 20 minutes while I make my coffee, and I take time to fill my mind with positive information. Generally, I'm re-listening to something that I've listened to before, just re-went through Bob Proctor's You Were Born Rich seminar yet again. Then when I'm cleaning, doing the dishes, doing the yard work, washing the car, working at doing whatever I can, when I'm driving in and out, plug it into the car, I'm listening to this kind of stuff. You have the ability to go through a self-guided audio university. And if you go through these books that I have referenced here, and you really truly take in the information, you don't just listen to them, skim over them once, you actually go through them again and again, what'll happen is your conscious mind will start to take in new ideas that will program your subconscious mind with these new ideas from some of the foremost wealth experts in the world. And ultimately, you will come out the other side with a wealth and abundance mindset that just looks at the world different. And when you get that going for you, there's nothing but opportunity that shows up. Every dollar you spend ends up coming back to you multiplied, and magic can happen in your life. The biggest key of all of it is taking action. At some point, you got to find that action to take, that thing in this world that you're bringing through, that you're willing to make videos on, podcasts on, blog about, write about, create. Maybe you make soap. Maybe you're all into making soap, and you just start going down the farm. You, at some point, need to figure out a way to create and do things. It's all about action, but it's the right actions. And if the right actions run through the right filter or the right kind of philosophy of looking at the world, when you build this philosophy in the right way, all these books, what's going to happen if you go through all these books in a year, first of all, your life will absolutely change. I guarantee you that for sure. No doubt about it. But what's going to happen is you are going to ultimately hear the same basic ideas said 10, 20 different ways. All of them are talking about these core principles. These are truths of the world. These are truths of the universe that you live in. The problem is most of our parents didn't know that. And when we were 3, 4, 5, 6 years old and we all got programmed, with ideas like money doesn't grow on trees. That was a family favorite, right? We can't afford that was a very, very common one. Not enough month at the end of the money was one my dad liked to go to all the time. There are piles of bills everywhere, right? Versus piles of abundance or symbols of abundance everywhere. So there's these little things we can do, and you'll learn to do. How do you learn to do them? Study the greats. Study these people on these books. A lot of these books go all the way back to the 1800s. Why? Because it's timeless information that's still hyper relevant today. Find the original versions, find the unabridged versions, commit to it. If you want to create a different reality, you got to start up here. The real estate, the 4 inches between your 2 ears is the most valuable real estate in the world. Most people are just letting that go to weeds. They're letting it go to what the mass media tells them. They're letting it go to what social media tells them. They'd rather binge watch Netflix, drink a bunch of beer, play some video games, and numb themselves to the shit life they've created for themselves instead of going into it and making a commitment to change their lives. Most people who read self-help books don't do anything different. That's why they just keep buying more self-help books, and it is a multi-billion-dollar industry. But I can tell you, beyond absolute truth, I grew up in a poor household. I grew up with a poverty consciousness, and I rewired that consciously on purpose because I was determined. It required me to say, no, I can't go out for drinks on Thursday night for happy hour. It required me to say, no, I can't go to this barbecue. I have things to do. I'm studying things that are going to help me create a different life for myself. It took sacrifices, and then it took a lot of action. But ultimately, I've been able to create a magical life for myself that is just keeps getting more interesting because I'm playing with these things going on. And when you're ready to build something online, know that I've taught everything I know about digital marketing and how to grow a successful business online. It's all here on my channel. So subscribe, thumbs up, hit that bell if you want new videos when they come out. But ultimately, nothing will replace you doing the hard work of reprogramming your mind. Because if you want a new external world, you need to build a new internal world, and that external world will become a reflection of that. The secret is in every single one of these books. The secret is repeated throughout each one of these books, and when you hear it over and over from authors from the 1800s and the 1930s and the 1920s and the 50s and the 70s and the 60s and even today, and you hear that same theme running through all of it, and you get all these super successful people telling you exactly how it is, eventually you're just like, that's how it is. You just get it, and then your world changes. That's how it works. I appreciate you. I hope this has been helpful for you. If you have any questions, get at me in the comments. Or if you have a favorite self-help book or personal development book that I did not cover in this list, feel free to give it a shout out in the comments below. I love learning about new books. I'm an avid reader. I'm always going. I'm literally about to finish up here. I got 20 acres here that I got to go mow a little section of. Headphones are going on. I'm getting right back into my next audiobook, and I recommend you do too. Thank you very much for your time. I will connect with you on the next video. Till we meet again, be well. I appreciate you. And I know you can do it. You just got to take the right actions. Cheers.